We're getting a new Elite Series controller. More Ubisoft games are coming to Game Pass. And is Microsoft in trouble after this guy left the company? And here to discuss with me once again is Jimmy Champagne. Y'all seemed to like him last time, so I was like, okay, I'll bring him on for another round. The start of something beautiful, I would say.
So what topics have you brought to the table today for Xbox Ready?
Once again, overflowing with news. So much news in the Xbox world right now. Most notably, Chris Novak, who has just been with the Xbox team for almost 20 years, he's leaving the company. And Chris Novak, if you need a refresher, most recently he's worked as one of the lead architects, lead of research and design behind things like Game Pass and cloud gaming. He joined the company in 2002, so not really 20 years, but people like in the media, they like to round up. Like 20 years sounds a lot better than 19 years.
Yeah, just after the Xbox launch.
Yeah, so it was the year after the Xbox launch, and from a talent perspective, that's kind of daunting to like joining Xbox at a time when Nintendo and PlayStation had such a hold on the video game market. But obviously it worked out, and he's attributed to bringing great features like achievement system and photo mode to Xbox, and obviously did great work on Game Pass in recent years and things like that. But he's leaving the company, and a lot of people, I feel like the general reaction on Twitter and social media is, oh man, why is he leaving the company? Microsoft is doomed. It's a terrible place to work. Obviously people are still kind of caught up on everyone leaving the initiative. So I feel like when things like this happen, it's like, what's wrong with Microsoft? In his interview, he was just saying like, I've been with the company for a long time and I just kind of want to take time for myself and like do other things.
So I actually think this is a good thing from the PlayStation perspective, because I've been a PlayStation fan a long time. I really came into it with the PS3. I had a PSP when I was a kid, but PS fandom started really with the PS3. I was evangelizing that thing. And since I jumped on board, they have lost a lot of like key Phil Spencer type figures. I mean, they've gone through people like Sean Layden. They've gone through people like Jack Tretton. We got our boy Jim Ryan now, who doesn't know how to hold a controller. And while at the time when these big people, these big figureheads of the PlayStation like meme fandom have left the company, it seems like, oh man, PlayStation's doomed now. Like, what's going to happen? When these new people come in and bring their own new perspective, that's usually good. Like, PlayStation is the best and biggest it's ever been right now, especially compared to where it was coming into the PS3 generation. So
For
having
sure. Yeah.
turnover is good, especially at the highest levels, right? Like, Xbox has a lot of people who have been there from the beginning. Aaron Greenberg's the big marketing guy. He's been there from the beginning. People love him. Phil Spencer's been at Microsoft for an extremely long time. And I'd say those are two people who don't need to leave. But, if you've got someone who's, later on in their career, they've had these great ideas like the user design, the user interface for Game Pass. They've had, making the achievements, like you said. They've done a lot of stuff. Now they want to kind of move on and have some time to themselves. That leaves a huge gap for newer people to come in and bring new ideas to Xbox, which you mentioned what's going on with the initiative. The best way to fix stuff like that is to get new blood into these studios. And I feel like that goes all the way up within Xbox to like the executive level as well. Like, Phil Spencer's obviously great where he's at. I think Aaron Greenberg kind of like defies everything I just said because he's doing a great job marketing the Xbox. But, there's a lot of other places. There's a lot of other areas of the Xbox business where people could afford to leave, and maybe they want to leave, like they're feeling like their careers in its twilight. Like, let's get some new blood in there.
Well, even with Phil Spencer, although like we regard him as like the savior of Xbox or something like that, he's kind of towards the end, I'd feel like, of his career as well. People are starting to question like who's going to be his successor, who like, is going to take on that mantle, that role that he's carved out for himself as the face and also as like the Xbox guy. Like you say, like it's good to have new blood and bring in fresh perspectives, because the video game industry has changed so much from when 2002, when Chris Novak joined up initially. The game has changed. I don't want to be like leaning into the pun. What I thought was interesting in the Chris Novak interview when he was talking about his time at Microsoft, he was like, I look back at Project Gotham Racing 2. Do you remember that game?
Yeah, I had the first. This is bad because I have a PlayStation channel, but my first experience with Xbox was my dad bought me the Xbox console day one with every single launch game. It was like 50 games that I got with this thing. Project Gotham was the one where I just like looked at it and I was like, when you look at the box art for Project Gotham, it feels like a game that you would see in a TV show. Like when they can't license a game, it's like Because it's like,
That's
why
a
is
good- that's a
Gotham
good
in the
conve-
title?
yeah.
Why is this a photograph of a car? I thought it was going to be more arcadey when I booted it up, and it was just kind of like what we now know is like Forza Motorsport.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was
There's
just
just a
like one
ton
of
of
those
games
weird
at
ass
that time, like the whole like Need for Speed era and like games like that. Every racing mechanic at the time just thrown into like loosely in one game. Project Gotham Racing 2 was apparently the time when Chris Novak, he saw the true potential of achievements.
Yeah.
He goes on in this interview and he says like, achievements made that game more than just about going as fast as you can and winning the race, and encouraged people to play in different ways and use photo mode for the first time, which was a very new thing. Achievements really fell off, I feel like, for being honest. Like,
So have trophies.
I don't care about achievements at all, and I feel like back in the day I really did. And you know, we're all thinking like, what's gonna happen when Chris Novak leaves? But like, his presence hasn't made achievements relevant in the modern gaming landscape at the same time.
I think trophies really peaked for me during the PS3 and PS4 generation. I was getting the platinums and stuff like Assassin's Creed Black Flag. I have it in Far Cry 4. I've gotten some Sony games. Either way though, I'm willing to call this a positive. I don't think there's anything to worry about here. It's not like Phil Spencer just like dipped out right now. You know?
Yeah, at the very least, it's not as dramatic as people are saying. It just sounds like, you know, he was like, I want to do something else, or could retire on a big fat stack of money, travel the world, do whatever. So it looks like some more Ubisoft games are making its way over to Game Pass later this month, or pretty soon, fairly soon. A couple months ago, there was a lot of excitement about Ubisoft Plus coming to Xbox. And a lot of people were like, oh, like, is it going to be a part of Game Pass, sort of like EA Play with all that library? Ubisoft Plus and Game Pass did not merge. It's just that you can have Ubisoft Plus on your Xbox, which is their subscription service that gets you access to, you know, all their library games, all these Assassin's Creed
50
games,
copies of the same game.
Yeah. But they seem to have a pretty good relationship as far as, you know, there's a lot of Ubisoft titles on Game Pass right now. Not a lot, but a few notable ones. And I think that goes a long way, because it's, a lot of people say they're like, oh, there's no AAA games. And having stuff like, you know, Rainbow Six, Siege, Extraction, some Assassin's Creed games go a long way in dispelling that narrative, I'd say.
Yeah, if you go to the Wikipedia for AAA games, I feel like that's just a bunch of pictures of Ubisoft games. Like, they just go down a checklist, just like, all right, big open world, way too many side quests, be able to choose and build your own character. You know, you've got loot elements that completely don't matter in a single player game. It's like, Ubisoft loves just checking boxes.
Yeah, Ubisoft, I mean, I would say opinion of them is pretty poor, especially like when Elden Ring came out. They were putting like screenshots of like Elden Ring if Ubisoft made it, and it was like just cluttered with like all sorts of like maps crap and like other, like, it was very cluttered UI, like mini maps and compasses and things like that.
So what games are we actually getting?
Assassin's Creed Origins is one of them. Are you a big Assassin's Creed guy?
I used to be growing up. I really liked the Ezio trilogy a lot. I thought that was awesome. I was really into Assassin's Creed 3, and then it came out, and that was not as good as I wanted it to be.
It was okay. I mean, there was some...
They overhyped it. They like overmarketed it.
I was the same way. Like, I played the first one, loved it. Ezio trilogy, loved it.
So good.
3, I was like, this is okay.
It could have been better.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Black Flag.
Black Flag is awesome.
Black Flag was awesome. And then I played Unity as well.
I
then
tried
after
Unity.
that, I fell off.
Yeah, I bounced off after 3, I want to say. Oh no, I bounced off after Black Flag, after I got the platinum in it, which was crazy because the last thing you have to do is kill the white whale. You have to kill Moby Dick. And
I remember that.
My PS4 deleted my save. After I had grinded through 50 levels and prestiged in the multiplayer, my PS4 deleted my save. So I was like, all right, I'm committing. This is the last thing I gotta do. I played through the beginning of the story, got to the point where I had my ship, and I beelined it to freaking Moby Dick, and I sat there for 6 hours whittling down his health. I finally got him, got that platinum. It was sweet. But yeah, Assassin's Creed Origins, it's the same Ubisoft problem where Assassin's Creed Origins was really cool. It was like a big open world RPG that redefined the series, and then they make 2 more games that are identical to it that just blow it out of the water and do way too much. So yeah, if you look at that trilogy, I think Origins is the best one, having beat and finished both Origins and Odyssey. Odyssey was just way too long. It took me over 100 hours to finish that game.
Yeah, it's I feel like Origins is a great game to showcase like the graphical power of the Series X. I'd say, like, you know, with the frame rate and the resolution.
Yeah, they went
it looks
back and patched
really
it.
good. Yeah, but also it's so crazy to think like what the Assassin's Creed games have become versus like what they started out. It used to be like you sneak around, assassinate your target. There's like a cutscene that explains like why it's sad that you killed him, and then like you try to leave and hide. But now
it
it's
is
like
not that.
Now it's like fight Anubis, god of the dead. Like,
Yeah, I
or,
remember
like,
that
fight
in
Fenrir
Odyssey.
in the new games in Valhalla. I'm like, what the heck?
You fight the boss from Moana in Odyssey.
I don't. Yeah, there are certain elements I wish they had held on to from like the old stuff. Like, do you remember that multiplayer mode that they had in like starting in Brotherhood? I felt like it was
Yeah,
like,
that's
you
what I
had
had to
a
grind
target, and then you had someone hunting you, but you didn't know who was hunting you.
Yeah.
that was so fun. Kind of a bit. Unity, same thing. I loved like the co-op stuff that they had. Like the
Unity's
fact that
co-op was great.
You could specialize in a certain like technique of assassinate. You want to be like a dude who just is a master of disguise and like infiltrates that way. You could do that. You could be like a sniper, like just a guy who specializes in long rifles. I did that.
Yeah.
That was sick. And then, but Unity, it really, when it launched, it was all sorts of bugs. And that was at a time when like nowadays, if that happened, people would be like, whatever. But back then, it was like something.
Yeah,
they
Unity
could
got a
not
huge patch
recover
that fixed
from.
it.
Yeah.
And the parkour in Unity is the best in the series.
Oh, you can
by
like
a
the
mile.
controlled descent. It was like, oh,
Yeah,
so
let's get
good.
that. Let's get that on Game Pass. Origins is good though. Origins is good. The game I want them to add is Riders Republic because apparently this is what happens with Ubisoft. They dilute
Yeah.
the market by making the same game 50,000 times, and then when they have an original one like Immortals Phoenix Rising or Riders Republic come out, it gets completely buried by all the other stuff that they're just throwing out there the other 364 days of the year.
Yeah.
I want to play Riders Republic. It looks really cool.
That
It
looks like definitely the most interesting game.
yeah, it looks
put
like
out
open
in
world Tony
recent
Hawk.
memory. Yeah.
So, all right.
Oh, what are we thinking about? Like maybe getting a Far Cry 6 on Game Pass.
I started Far Cry 6. If you're not bored of Far Cry, it is probably the most like well executed version of Far Cry. Like it's very streamlined, it plays well, the graphics are there, the story's pretty cool, but it is literally just more Far Cry. And after playing Far Cry 3, 100%ing that game, 100%ing Far Cry 4, I have the platinum, 100%ing Far Cry Primal, 100%ing Far Cry 5, doing as much as I could in that game. I am just like
Far Cry.
I'm so over it at this point, but if you haven't been playing them religiously every release like I have, and Far Cry 6 comes to that service, definitely give it a shot. It looks and plays well on Xbox.
And it might come to Game Pass a couple years from now. Like, Origins is already a couple years old by this point. Obviously, probably not the Assassin's Creed game people were wanting. They were probably wanting Valhalla to come to Game Pass. But at the same time, like you were saying, it's a good, like, cool game to check out, especially if it is on Game Pass. But yeah, overall, I'd say, Ubisoft, the relationship with Game Pass and Microsoft seems to be going okay.
Yeah.
Which I feel like in the long run is great for the service.
Let's talk about controllers, because this, sadly, is the area where I think you guys have PlayStation just like beat.
Wow, that's, even with the DualSense stuff.
I like
and,
the DualSense. I think it's cool. I like when it's implemented in games. I think the triggers are sweet. The haptics are cool. Big problems are they kind of hurt your fingers in shooters after a while. It's like
I haven't played a lot of shooters on.
I end up turning it off in a lot of them. After Far Cry 6 is a great example of a game that uses the adaptive triggers for shooting. It makes your fingers sore after a while. And it's like, all right, the gimmick is over. I understand it. I'm turning it off. Then there's still good triggers. Haptics is just better vibration, which I like. I think that's cool. I think Xbox will have a controller that includes that down the line, but the battery life is so bad.
The battery life is but like there's no other way to say it. Like, in just a couple of hours it'll start like blinking and starting to go low. When
it's a cool next gen gimmick.
The Elite, I think people are starting to really get turned on to the Pro controller, the Pro variant of the Xbox controller,
because they're selling it for a fair price lately. I
Yeah.
think the barrier was that it was over $200 before.
Right.
Now it's regularly on sale for like $125.
But at the time, like when those were first starting to come out, people were like, "That's way too much for a controller."
Yeah.
Like I would never spend
that's
that
like
much
half
on a
the price
controller.
of the console.
Yeah, the Elite Series 2 controller, I feel like people are really into, but it was cost prohibitive for a little bit. But I've also heard some durability issues about it.
Yes, there are. I've run into them. I used to use the Series 2, the Elite Series 2 for PC. You run into issues with the texture around the sticks. It wears down super quick on them. Buttons will stick. The paddles will stop working. The rubber around the actual like grips will start to like fray and come off. There's a lot of issues with quality, and they had that with the first iteration too. But I guess there's rumors of a third version coming.
There's rumors of a third Elite Series 3 Xbox controller.
Yeah, I would like to see that, because even holding the Elite Series 2, it still has the shape of the Xbox One controller. So I'd like that Series X version, because I feel like that one fits into my hands personally a little better. I'd like to see that chassis.
Yeah, I would just really want an improvement in the materials and the durability of these things. If you buy one of these controllers, you're making an investment expecting it to elevate your gameplay for years to come. And obviously, as gamers, we form these attachments to these controllers. We want them to last. So if they're having these issues with durability, wear and tear, I really want just a solid upgrade in the materials.
Yeah, this could also be a cool situation for them to prototype some of these features that people want from the DualSense, like a better version of the triggers that has a little bit more vibration than the Series X controller has right now. Or
even like gyroscopic controls, like just being able to move your controller and like manipulate events in certain games like that.
Yeah, gyroscopic controls would be cool. Different profiles. I like that that's an inclusion in the Series 2. I hope they don't get rid of that. Having the dedicated share button that is in the same spot it's on the Series X controller, not having to be remapped like you currently do with the Elite controller. I feel like that'd be cool.
I don't know, maybe like an easier way to remap your buttons for like newcomers to a controller like that.
Yeah, because I think you need an app right now.
You need an Xbox or your PC.
Mm-hmm. If they could make a point out of it having extremely long battery life, that would be awesome. Also, if they could work this thing into Design Lab, that would be sweet.
Like right now, you can only customize regular controllers in the Xbox Design Lab, but throwing in a custom Pro controller, that can go a long way. I feel like people would really respond well to that. And also, I have been hearing people reaching out to me saying that they're having connectivity issues with their Xbox controllers in general, not just the Elite series. So hopefully with the new Elite series, they have just better connectivity overall. I know a lot of people, like, where do you stand on like the whole like wired versus wireless?
I like wireless. I like when it uses 2.4 gigahertz versus Bluetooth, because I feel like Bluetooth drops connection. When I'm playing on PC, I use that little dongle instead of using my PC's built-in
The dongle's clutch.
The dongle's clutch. So yeah, I think Xbox has that figured out. Honestly, they've kind of like perfected the controller as far as these Elite series go. I feel like you mentioned, they got to get the quality control under control, and there's just a few more features that we already talked about they could add.
So yeah, new hardware, new controller, always very exciting. Let me know what you would want in your ideal Elite Series 3 controller down in the comments. And Chris Novak, again, thank you for your service.
Press F to pay respects.
Press F. Put an F in the chat for Chris Novak.
Yeah, drop an F.
But yeah, anything you want to plug?
Yeah, you can find PlayStation videos at PS Ready on YouTube, and Ray will be on the next video there, so you can see us talk about the latest PlayStation news, and also check out Deck Ready for the latest Steam Deck news. And yeah, you can find Ray on Twitter at Stay Xbox Ready, and you can find me on Twitter at Stay Deck Ready.
Also, you can follow me on TikTok at Stay Xbox Ready. I had my first viral TikTok. It was just like a stupid like Elden Ring joke, but I'd appreciate a follow on that as well.